So, this is lecture 7 of basic calculus 1. In the last lecture, we had taken some examples from limits, and now we will consider one-sided limits. You will see how it is different, but not much different. It is the same process. However, it depends on the function where it is defined. Sometimes also, even if the function defined in the throughout an interval, we will be considering again one-sided limits. We will see slowly. Okay. So, let us start with this. Say we have a function f of x, which is defined throughout real numbers except at the point 2. So, for x less than 2, it is given as x, and for x bigger than 2, it is given as x squared. So, we are required to find its limit at x equal to 2. So, usually when you go for the limit, we will be arguing the following way. We consider some interval around 2, leaving that 2. So, it is a 2 minus delta to 2 on the left side and 2 to 2 plus delta on the right side. When x belongs to the left neighborhood, left delta neighborhood, 2 minus delta to 2, f x is equal to x. That is how it is given. Thus, when x is near 2, but remaining always x less than 2, we see that f of x also remains near 2. And on the right side, we have x belongs to 2 to 2 plus delta. There f of x is equal to x squared. So, when x approaches 2, but remaining x greater than 2, f of x is x squared, that remains near 4. So, we conclude that the limit x goes to 2 does not exist. So, now look at the argument. We have not done directly from 2 minus delta to 2 plus delta, but divided that into 2 sub intervals. On the left side we are considering one, on the right side we are considering another. So, that is what we say, that the left side limit of f x is 2, whereas the right side limit of f x is 4. Now, we want to formalize this notion of left side limit and right side limit. They are called as such as one-sided limits. So, what we do? We give a notation for the left side limit. Suppose f is a function given and c is a point. So, we say x tends to c minus, limit of f x, x goes to c minus. That is what c minus means, is the left side limit. That is equal to L if and only if correspond to each epsilon greater than 0, there exists a positive delta such that if x lies between c minus delta to c, then we have this condition f x minus L is less than epsilon. Recall that earlier in the limit definition, we would have taken c minus delta to c plus delta, leaving the point c. If again this condition is satisfied, f x minus L mod is less than epsilon, then we would have told limit x goes to c, f of x equal to L. Now, it is one-sided limit. So, we are only concerned about points which are near c, not equal to c, and to the left of c. That is how you are taking. So, similarly, you can define the right side limit also. So, the right side limit will be considering the interval c to c plus delta. So, let us see, we write limit of f of x, x goes to c plus, that is the right hand side limit, that is L if and only if correspond to each epsilon there exists delta such that whenever x lies between c to c plus delta, that is on the right neighborhood, right delta neighborhood, we have the same condition f x minus L mod less than epsilon is satisfied. So, again informally you will say that this happens, that is limit f of x, x goes to c plus equal to L, the right side limit of f x at c is L if x lies near c and remains greater than c. For those x, f of x should lie near L, that is called the right hand side or right limit of f x at x equal to c. So, in the earlier example what we have seen, the left side limit is 2, right side limit is 4. That is what conforms to this formal definition. Okay. So, something to point here, the left hand limit at x equal to c is meaningful for a function f defined on a set containing an open interval of the type c minus delta to c. Recall that in the limit definition, we said that the limit is defined only when there is a neighborhood of c, which is a c minus delta to c plus delta, leaving that c, deleted neighborhood. Function should be defined on such a neighborhood, then only we can talk of limit. Similarly, here we would say that the function should be defined from c minus delta to c, then only we can think of its limit when x lies smaller than c, that is the left side limit. Similarly, for the right side limit, it will be meaningful when the function is defined on a neighborhood of the type c to c plus delta. On the right side, there is some neighborhood where it is defined. And for the limit, we know that it should be defined over c minus delta to c plus delta. Perhaps it is not defined at c. So, you may think of this minus the point c. If a function is defined on this, that is a deleted neighborhood of c, then you can think of its limit. And now also you can see that the limit is defined. If the limit is defined, limit of f x equal to L, then both left side limit and right side limits are defined and they are also equal to L. So, this is the fourth statement. We say that limit f x equal to L if and only if both the left side limit equal to L and right side limit equal to L. If this happens, we would say that f x equal to L. So, sometimes we will be able to see that it is easier to find the left side limit or the right side limit than the limit itself directly. So, in those cases, it will be helpful to find both the types of limits separately. Okay. So, let us see an example how it is applied. Let us say we have the function as f of x equal to x divided by mod x, and we want to find its left hand and its right hand limits, and also if possible its limit at x equal to 0. So, for the left hand limit, we should have a neighborhood, left neighborhood of 0, where the function should be defined. Of course, the function is defined everywhere except at x equal to 0, x divided by mod x. So, that condition is satisfied. Now, how do we proceed to the left side limit? Well, for that we should consider all x less than 0, particularly in a neighborhood near 0 we have to find out. So, now look at how the function looks like when x is less than 0. Mod x becomes minus x when x is less than 0. So, x divided by mod x is x divided by minus x, which is minus 1. It is a constant. So, its limit f of x equal to minus 1, that is clear when x goes to 0 minus, that is the left side limit of f x at x equal to 0 is minus 1. What about the right side limit? Let us say let is x to be greater than 0, then mod x becomes x. So, x divided by x becomes 1. Therefore, the right side limit of f of x equal to 1 at x equal to 0. Therefore, you may conclude that limit of x goes to 0, x divided by mod x does not exist, because both the limits exist here and they are not equal. One is minus 1, another is 1, as we did in our first example, where 2 and 4 were the limits, left and right sides. Now, let us go to second problem. It asks for finding out the left side limit of the function 4 minus x square square root, and the right side limit, it is not minus, it should be plus, right side limit of square root of 4 minus x square, same function where x goes to c plus now. Okay. So, now for all those c within minus 2 to 2, that is how it is defined. Let us say these limits are defined for this, and we want to find out the limits at every point inside the interval minus 2 to 2. So, slightly c is not given exactly, but c is between minus 2 to 2. So, naturally we will consider cases like c becomes equal to minus 2, c becomes equal to 2, or c is within minus 2 to 2, but not equal to either of them. Okay, let us see. So, here say at x equal to minus 2, the function is here we are defining 4 minus x square is the function. So, 4 minus x square must be greater than or equal to 0, that is x square must be less than or equal to 4. So, x must be lying also between minus 2 to 2, that is the domain of the function. So, now at x equal to minus 2 for the left side limit, we need a neighborhood of the form minus 2 minus delta to minus 2. Such a neighborhood should be inside the domain of the function, but the function is not defined for this. Function is defined only after minus 2. So, the left hand limit of g x, this function call it g x square root of 4 minus x square, it is not meaningful really, right. So, we cannot speak of that limit. Similarly, we cannot speak of the right hand limit at x equal to 2, because in that case we would need an interval of the form 2 to 2 plus delta where the function should be defined. So, we cannot even speak of that. So, when c equal to minus 2, we cannot speak of the left side limit. When c equal to plus 2, we cannot speak of the right side limit. But c equal to minus 2, we can think of right side limit, and c equal to 2, we can think of left side limit. Okay. So, for those cases, let us say at minus 2 what happens? Minus 2 and right side limit. So, there 4 minus x square remains near 0, therefore, the limit is 0. And when it is 2, we are considering the left side limit, there also square root of 4 minus x square remains near 0. So, at 2 also 2 minus it is 0. So, when x goes to 2, it is really plus, this is equal to 0, that is what it says, right. So, but if you take 2 plus, the limit is not defined, only 2 minus is defined, as we have seen here. So, limit of square root of 4 minus x square at minus 2 or at 2, those things we cannot speak of. So, this one which we write here, we cannot really write, because we cannot speak of even the limit when x is near 2 and bigger than 2. Similarly, x is near minus 2 and smaller than minus 2. Only we can think of at minus 2 plus or 2 minus. And what about c and the open interval minus 2 to 2? So, all points in c to minus 2 to 2 lying between, but not equal to minus 2 or 2. It is easy to see that square root of g x will be equal to, because of the algebra of limits, it is square root of 4 minus c square, and that will be the limit, that is well defined. Both left and right are well defined now, and that is the limit. So, square root of 4 minus x square, limit x goes to c, when c lies between the 2 points minus 2, 2, but not equal to them, is equal to square root of 4 minus c square. Okay, let us take another example. This limit is really very helpful in many of the trigonometric limits. So, let us say find the limit of sin t by t as t goes to 0. What happens for t? Limit sin t goes to 0, we know, limit t also goes to 0. So, there is a possibility that limit exists, there is a possibility limit it does not exist, but we cannot discard it as it is, because the top one has the limit 0, bottom one has the limit 0. Okay, so, we have to really go back to our trigonometric estimations. So, let us see how it goes. Anyway, t is lying to be near 0, let us consider first t goes to 0 plus. So, that is t is bigger than 0, but it is in a neighborhood near 0. So, even for 0 to 2 to 0 to pi by 2, we can have some derivation and then proceed. It is enough if you take 0 to say 0.1, t varies between 0 to 0.1, that is also enough, but let us see for this, it will be easier. So, suppose t is between 0 to pi by 2. So, this angle is 0 to pi by 2, that is our t now. So, then we take a circle of radius 1. So, both the sides it is 1, that is O to I is 1, and the other side also radius is 1. O to Q is also 1, that is the unit length. Then since this is the angle T, so sin T will be equal to the perpendicular, which is in red now, divided by OQ, which is 1. So, therefore, this length of the red line here is sin of T, and cos T is its base divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 1, therefore, O to this point, let us call it some A. So, O to A is cos T and Q to A is sin T. Okay. Now, what about this green line? You can think of the green line, this is T. So, you consider the bigger triangle OZI. In this I have T here. So, tan T is equal to perpendicular divided by base, perpendicular is ZI length, divided by base is O to I, which is unit length. Therefore, this is tan T. So, now we are going to compare the area of the triangle OIQ and the sector OIQ and the triangle OIZ. Let us compare the area of this. So, as the geometry shows that the area of the triangle I and Q should be less than the area of the sector OIQ, and that is less than again the area of the triangle OIZ. Now, you can go for the formulas of the area. So, triangle OIQ, it is half, base is 1 and perpendicular is sin T. So, it is sin T by 2. Sin T by 2 is the area of the triangle OIQ. And since this is T, this, and if you measure this in radian, that is what we get the area of the sector, that is equal to T by 2. This length is T. So, it is T by 2. And the area of the triangle, which is OZI, is again tan T multiplied by base is 1 divided by 2. So, it is tan T by 2. That is why we got the inequality sin T by 2 less than T by 2 less than tan T by 2. So, these 2 we can cancel, and you divide also sin T, because sin T is non-zero. So, you get 1 less than T divided by sin T less than 1 divided by cos T. And if you reverse the ratios, we would get cos T to be less than sin T by T less than 1. This is what we get for all T between 0 to pi by 2. So, this is the inequality we get for all T between 0 to pi by 2. Now, since T goes to 0, we will be taking the limit. So, by Sandwich theorem, cos T, T goes to 0 plus, its limit is 1, right side is a constant function 1. Therefore, limit T goes to 0 plus, let us take T, sin T by T equal to 1. Then what happens? This is for the right side limit. What happens for the left side limit? Well, what happens here is, instead of T, let us take minus T. So, when T is less than 0, write x equal to minus T for T bigger than 0. So, now we are concerned about sin T equal to minus sin x, and we want to find limit T goes to 0 minus sin T by T. So, this becomes limit x goes to 0 plus, because T is minus x, x goes to 0 plus minus sin x by minus x, which is limit x goes to 0 plus sin x by x, which is here. So, that gives us 1. Therefore, the left side limit, right side limit, both are 1, hence the limit is equal to 1. Okay. I think this is pretty easy, just we are comparing the areas. There is another way of comparing the lengths of this chord and this, but this looks easier. Okay. So, once we get this limit, we can really apply on other things. Let us see how. Say we are required to find the limit of cos x minus 1 divided by x as x goes to 0. We do not know whether it is limit exists or not, but let us see what happens for this. So, what we do here is, we go for cos x minus 1 by x, Now, cos x minus 1, we can use the half sine formula. So, it is minus 2 sine square x by 2 and this is x, and we can use sine x by x formula. So, it is minus sign goes out, limit x goes to 0, sine x by 2, we multiply x by 2, bring this 2 down. So, it is x by 2 times limit of x goes to 0. Now, this limit we know to be 1 and this limit is 0, therefore, the total limit is 0. So, the limit exists and is cos x minus 1 divided by x is 0, that is what it says. Okay, let us take another. These are easy limits, you see, limit of sin x and limit of cos x. We know them to be 0. How did we do for sin x earlier? If you remember, sin x is bounded by minus mod x and mod x. Then, when x goes to 0, by sandwich theorem, this goes to 0, this also goes to 0. Therefore, by sandwich theorem, limit of sin x equal to 0. However, now we can use sin x by x. You see that limit of sin x by x is equal to 1, that we know. This is sin of x, and limit of x, that is the denominator, that is equal to 0. So, as our earlier result says that if the denominator limit 0 and the limit of the ratio exists, then limit of the numerator must also be 0 at that point. So, we can conclude directly that limit sin x equal to 0. Similarly, for cos x, earlier we had a different way of doing cos x minus 1 or 1 minus cos x, we can bind it from the left and right. But now we can use sin x by x, which says cos x minus 1 is minus 2 sin square x by 2. So, that goes to 0, as you see from the earlier one. Also, you can use the fourth one. This limit we know to be existing and limit x goes to 0, the denominator. So, the numerator limit must also be 0, as we have done here. The same way also you can conclude limit x goes to 0, cos x minus 1 equal to 0, and that gives limit cos x equal to 1. So, this is another way of doing the same old problems. Okay, let us take another example maybe.